Since its 1980 inaugural showing in Paris, the musical Les Miserables has played in 42 countries in 21 languages for over 60 million viewers, according to Time magazine article entitled They Dreamed a Dream. In 2012, a movie version of the musical was released, telling once again the story of ex-convict Jean Valjean's quest to fulfill a promise to a dying mother by raising her child, all the while being relentlessly pursued by Laurent Javert. The music of Les Mis was adapted from a 19th century novel written by a Frenchman named Victor Hugo. The story is not a new one, and even the music has been around for some 30 years. What then could have persuaded the makers of the movie that it was worth their while to tell the story again? Perhaps they wanted to ensure that more people become familiar with the tale, because they knew that the underlying message of Les Mis is one that never grows old. Les Miserables touches the very depths of what it means for beautiful things, like grace and redemption, to exist amidst the crushing reality of human depravity. Two of the overarching themes of Les Mis that I want to explore today are grace and redemption. Let us begin by looking at what grace means. Grace is unmerited favor. When you show favor to someone who does not deserve your favor, perhaps they deserve the very opposite, and yet you still show them favor. That is grace. After serving a 19-year prison sentence for stealing bread, Jean Valjean quickly discovers that no one will show the slightest kindness to an ex-convict. However, one night a generous bishop takes him in and feeds him, treats him with respect, and gives him a place to stay. Unfortunately, Valjean returns the man's kindness by stealing away in the middle of the night his silver. The next morning, Valjean is arrested and brought back. Under the circumstances, it would be very understandable, even reasonable, for the bishop to prosecute Valjean. But that's not what he does. Instead, he refuses to press charges, allows Valjean to keep what he has stolen, and gives him even more. The bishop tells the astonished Valjean that his soul has been saved for God, and instructs him to use his new riches to pursue an honest life. Valjean pays these kindnesses forward by building a factory and providing jobs for a needy town. While there, he encounters a woman named Fantine, who is fired from his factory for having a child out of wedlock. By the time he meets her, she is dying of tuberculosis and struggling to provide for her child. Fantine did not deserve Valjean's favor. She could do nothing to deserve it, but yet he extends grace towards her by caring for her and by assuming guardianship of her child after her death. When Valjean left the bishop in pursuit of his honest life, he broke his parole and assumed a new identity. In doing so, he was placed in the position of having to evade the pursuit of Laurent Javert for the rest of his life. Javert never showed Valjean any degree of mercy. Yet when the policeman's life was unexpectedly delivered into Valjean's hands, Valjean showed him grace by forgiving him and letting him go free. Closely intertwined with this theme of grace is the theme of redemption. The woman Fantine had a very unfortunate life and made several difficult decisions. Her daughter Cosette was born out of wedlock, and Fantine herself, cast off by society, was forced to turn to prostitution in order to provide a living for her daughter. However, beauty rises from the ashes, and out of Fantine's mistakes and desperate situation, the beautiful, innocent Cosette was born and sustained. Valjean himself, with his lengthy prison sentence and difficult life, was left starved for beauty and love. But then he agrees to care for Fantine's daughter, and the beautiful, innocent Cosette comes into his life, filling it with beauty and light. As Valjean tells Cosette years later, his is, quote, the story of one who turned from hating, the man who only learned to love when you, Cosette, were in his keeping, end quote. These two instances of redemption scene give us hope for a future redemption for the characters of Les Mis. Most of the second half of the movie revolves around a failed student-led revolt that attempted to reverse the dire plight of the people of Paris and free them from oppression. In an article called Do You Hear the Actors Sing?, Kate Mossman of the British magazine New Statesman describes this historical event as, quote, a damp squib of an uprising in which the Parisian populace failed to turn out and 93 students were killed, end quote. However, in retelling this sad tale, Les Mis looks forward to a day of true freedom from oppression for the people, and implies that these students did not die in vain, that their deaths will be redeemed. All throughout Les Miserables, we see how the ugliness and wretchedness of human depravity are confronted time and time again by the beautifully intermingled themes of grace and redemption. Song by song we watch as beauty, love, and hope triumph over resentment, hatred, and despair. Hugh Jackman, the actor who plays Jean Valjean, was quoted by Entertainment Weekly as describing Les Mis in this way. Quote, "This is something that's relevant. Classic literature, classic stories like Les Miserables sticks around for a reason." One of the reasons that I personally am drawn to Les Mis is because its deep and powerful themes have endured for over 150 years, yet they clearly resonate in this day and age. One of the movie's final stanzas sums the whole thing up pretty well, I think. Quote, "Do you hear the people sing, lost in the valley of the night? It is the music of a people who are climbing to the light. For the wretched of the earth, there is a flame that never dies. Even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise." End quote. Thank you. Bravo!